So a year ago I made a video picking the best DLCs for each of the 4 classes. And since then, not only have we gotten amazing new characters, but also a lot of updates that made me realize most of the choices I made in that video aren't optimal anymore. So today I'm going to be picking what I currently consider to be the best DLC character for each of the classes. Alongside that, I'll also give my honorable mentions for each class, which are characters that I consider great but aren't quite the top pick in my opinion. Now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into it. Okay, so let's start off with the honorable mentions for the attack class. First up, we have Shisui, who I think is just a really well-made DLC overall. You get a great combo jutsu that's one of the best guaranteed ways to deal damage, a fantastic movement and counter jutsu in Oboro Gurama, and a super useful ultimate that gives your team Sharingan while also making life incredibly difficult for your opponents by obstructing their HUD and reversing their controls. In terms of originality, Shisui is just excellent. Everything in his kit feels unique and well designed. My second honorable mention is Baryon Mode Naruto, who brings arguably the best transformation ultimate in the game right now with Baryon Mode. It's just an absolutely devastating secret technique. He also comes with Baryon Bullet Barrage, which, while not quite as strong as it was a few updates ago, is still a great way to deal damage and reduce the enemy's secret technique gauge. I do think his second base jutsu, the one that gives you the Baryon Chakra Cloak, isn't quite as good, mainly because it's very easy to accidentally deactivate it. You also get a substitution jutsu, although it does come with a pretty long cooldown. So yeah, a really strong DLC, especially if you're looking specifically for an amazing ultimate. And my final honorable mention for this class is actually my number 1 pick from last year, Karma Progression Kawaki. He brings good jutsu all around, a great transformation ultimate in Karma Progression and a strong engagement tool in God Hunter, with a nice projectile stun in Daikoku Tenchogatsu as well. There really isn't anything in his kit that I'd consider bad, and if it weren't for some of the more recent DLC releases, he might still be my top recommendation. With that said, there are definitely other good attack DLCs as well, including both of the other Naruto versions, but I think they ultimately get overshadowed by Baryon Mode Naruto. Nevertheless, let's move on to my actual pick for the best DLC in the attack class. So, my pick for the attack class is Kimimaro. Now listen, I'm not sure this is going to be the most popular choice, but honestly, I just can't recommend any other attack DLC more than this one. Kimimaro brings so much value to the table. All of his jutsu are easily A tier or even S tier, and on top of that he comes with a great weapon and a genuinely useful ninja tool too. His first jutsu, Large Dance, is one of the strongest counter and engagement tools currently available for attack types. When activated, Kimimaro enters a stance covered in bone protrusions and can either manually charge at an opponent or automatically counter anyone who attacks him. The jutsu grants super armor whilst active, and if the counter version triggers, Kimimaro becomes completely invulnerable during the attack. This is like the perfect counter to any projectile in the game. You can activate it, let yourself get hit, and now you've not only blocked all of the damage, but you've been able to severely punish the opponent as well. Plus, you can even activate it yourself, which isn't as good since you might take some damage, but it's still a really good attack with great range. Just an awesome and super fun jutsu to use. The second jutsu Kimimaro brings is Clementis Dance, which gives you 2 different attacks depending on whether you do or do not input a direction with your left stick. Whilst the whip attack, which is the one that activates when you input the jutsu with a direction, can launch enemies and create combo opportunities, the real star of the show is the Bone Spear Charge, which is the non-direction attack. It has armor, excellent range, great speed, and makes it incredibly easy to engage enemies or chase them down. What really pushes the jutsu over the top though is its absurdly low cooldown of only around 5 to 6 seconds. For a tool this effective at closing the gap and starting fights, that's incredibly powerful. All you need to learn is to just not input a direction when using the jutsu. Sure, the whip might come in handy here or there, but the spear is the real deal here, and you don't want to accidentally use the whip when chasing enemies. But yeah, I'm sorry, but a 5-second cooldown on this is just nuts. Genuinely incredibly powerful and one of my favorite attack type jutsus. His ultimate is Bracken Dance, which is one of the stronger ultimates currently available for the attack types. The first part creates a huge area of damage by summoning massive bone protrusions from the ground, often finishing off enemies that are already weakened. If anyone survives, you then automatically target the closest enemy with a Bone Spear Charge that is a one-hit KO. This is just a really solid pick for an ultimate. It charges fast and will almost always give you at least 1 kill, but more often than not you're gonna catch multiple enemies with the first part, and if they are not at full health, it will most likely kill them too. Not the most original ultimate in the game, but still it's definitely very good. Aside from the jutsu themselves, Kimimaro also comes with a new weapon and a ninja tool, and both of them are surprisingly good. Kimimaro's bone is a really smooth weapon to use, with solid tracking, good combo flow, and one especially nasty aerial heavy attack. The stun on this move lasts for an absurdly long amount of time, giving you plenty of opportunities to follow up with a jutsu, continue the combo, or simply reset your positioning. His ninja tool, Digital Sharp Nail, is also a great addition. It functions similarly to a kunai or a shuriken, but deals surprisingly high damage and somehow registers as 2 hits per stock, making it much more threatening than it first appears. So yeah, when you put everything together, I just don't think there's any other attack class DLC that gives you as much value right now. You get 3 amazing jutsu that can fit into almost any build, a great weapon, and a ninja tool that's actually worth using. There's no other DLC in this class where you get so much for the price of simply 1 DLC. Okay, so let's now do the honorable mentions for the range class. First up, we have Adult Sasuke. The main reason I'm recommending him is actually quite simple. He's the only DLC in the game that gives you 3 jutsu instead of the usual 2. None of them are necessarily top tier meta picks, but they're all creative and fun to use. Heavenly Hand Power lets you swap places with enemies. Inferno style Flame Lightning acts like a universal pull combined with an Amaterasu at the end, and Onyx Chidori gives you another solid offensive option. On top of that, Takemikazuchi no Kami is a really strong one-shot ultimate. Overall, if you're looking for variety and fun builds, Adult Sasuke offers really good value. My second honorable mention goes to Momoshiki. Honestly, he was very close to being my actual number 1 pick. The biggest reason is that he comes with Momoshiki's Palm Ice, which is probably the best range weapon you can get without relying on scrolls or the exchange shop. His jutsu are solid too. Saraiwa lets you transform into a giant soul monkey, which allows you to deal a bunch of damage. Inukai Takeru no Mikoto creates a dragon pathway for you and your team and can also once again deal good damage. And his ultimate, Kibitsuhiko no Mikoto, is a decent transformation ultimate. The weapon is definitely the main attraction, but the rest of the DLC is strong as well. And finally, we have Kid Sasuke, who was actually my number 1 recommendation last year. He brings Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu, which traps enemies and burns them, and Chidori Lament, which gets a huge cooldown reduction when it lands. His Curse Mark Second State ultimate is also one of the coolest transformation techniques in the game, and remains very effective despite some past nerfs on the second activation. Overall, it's a really solid DLC with strong jutsu across the board. Hey, enjoying the video thus far? If so, then a like and a subscribe would be kinda dope, since chances are you aren't actually subscribed to me yet if you're watching this, as around 87% of you aren't subscribed. So what are you waiting for? Just press that button. Anyway, thanks a lot and let's continue. So, my pick for the best DLC in the range class is going to be Karma Progression Boruto. I'll be honest, this wasn't nearly as straightforward of a choice as for the attack class. As I've mentioned, there are a lot of strong range DLCs and not a single character stands head and shoulders above the rest. That said, I do think Karma Progression Boruto is currently the best overall package. His first jutsu, Flash Slice, is still in my opinion the best engagement tool available to range types, even after the slight nerfs it has received in recent updates. It has excellent range for a close range attack, deals solid damage, and most importantly, launches the enemy upward in a way that lets you easily continue your combo afterwards. The follow-up potential is incredibly valuable, and honestly, it's probably still my favorite close range jutsu in the entire range class. His second jutsu is Vanishing Rasengan Full Moon. This technique lets you charge your Rasengan to 3 different variant levels depending on how long you hold down the button, all while benefiting from super armor while the charge up is active. Once released, you fire the Rasengan at your opponent. I don't think it's quite on the same level as Flash Slice in terms of how meta relevant it is, but it's still a really good jutsu with a lot of versatility. You can quickly throw a smaller Rasengan for faster pressure or fully charge it for increased damage and a larger projectile. One thing I only recently noticed is that the smaller version of the jutsu actually behaves like Boruto's traditional Vanishing Rasengan. When you fire it, it disappears and tracks the enemy for a surprisingly long amount of time. It can create some genuinely funny moments where opponents think they've avoided it only to get hit a few seconds later.
Surprise, motherfucker!
It's nothing crazy, but it makes the jutsu even more useful. Finally, we have Karma Awakening, which I still consider the best transformation ultimate in the range class. It provides excellent buffs to all the important combat stats and gives you access to an incredibly strong second activation. When used, you instantly teleport your locked on target and slam down a massive Rasengan attack. It isn't quite a guaranteed one-shot hit, but it activates quickly and has a huge area of effect. Plus, it deals really good damage anyways. Most of the time, you'll get get at least one kill with it, but catching multiple enemies isn't uncommon either. So overall, I think Karma Progression Boruto is currently the best range DLC in the game. Flash Slice is amazing, Vanishing Rasengan Full Moon is a very strong and versatile jutsu, and Karma Awakening remains one of the best ultimates available to the class. Put it all together and I think this is the strongest overall package a ranged player can get right now. Okay, now let's do the honorable mentions for the defense class. First up, we have Obito Uchiha. He's one of the older characters in Shinobi Striker at this point, but he's still a really solid DLC. He brings a lot of defense utility, which is exactly what you'd want from a defense type. Uchiha formation gives both you and your teammates a protective flame barrier that blocks the next hit and damages whoever triggers it, making it great for team fights. He also has Kamui Climax, which essentially makes you invulnerable for a short period of time as long as you aren't attacking. Plus, if you do so, it buffs those attacks. His ultimate fire style Bomb Blast Dance is decent as well, although I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite defense ultimates. Still, as an overall utility focused DLC, especially for team modes, Obito remains a great choice. My second honorable mention goes to Sasuke Uchiha Last Battle. He still brings one of my favorite defense jutsus in the entire game, Susanoo Armor. Even though it has gained quite a lot of counters over the years, it's still incredibly useful, and whenever you activate it, you immediately feel much safer because of how many attacks it can actually shut down. He also comes with Flying Thrust Heavenly Hand Power, which is not only a great movement tool but also one of the better offensive jutsus available for the defense types. His ultimate, Indra's Arrow, is really the only thing holding the DLC back for me. Sometimes it feels amazing and other times it feels a bit random and inconsistent. If the ultimate were stronger, this might honestly have been my top pick. And finally, we have Reanimated Minato. This DLC brings some fantastic utility tools to the defense class. Flying Raijin Guiding Thunder creates a dome that deletes incoming enemy projectiles while also boosting the defense of allies standing inside of it, making it incredibly useful for objective modes and team fights. His second jutsu, Celestial Air Slice Type 0, is a great defensive option that can easily overwhelm and catch multiple enemies at once. His ultimate though isn't anything extraordinary, usually you're looking at one guaranteed kill at most, but it's still a cool technique and perfectly usable. Overall, Reanimated Minato offers a lot of utility and remains one of the better defense class DLCs. And my pick for the defense class best DLC goes to Ishiki Otsutsuki. Originally, I thought this choice was going to be a lot harder, but the more I thought about it, the more comfortable I am with picking Ishiki. He brings what is in my opinion the best ultimate in the defense class alongside with two really strong jutsu. His first jutsu, Sukuna Hikona, is basically what I would describe as an upgraded version of the Sharingan for the attack types. Not only does it protect you from incoming attacks, but it also gives you a second activation that lets you impale the enemy with a few of Ishiki's black rods. More importantly though, this jutsu is incredible against projectile based build. It can absorb ninjutsu projectiles and other range attacks over and over again, meaning that as long as you aren't hit by a close range attack and activating that Sharingan like sub, you can completely shut down some of the most annoying range type builds in the game. It's simply an incredibly useful defensive tool that can make certain matchups much easier. His second jutsu, Karma, is another really strong addition to the class. It starts by you having to lunge at the enemy and grabbing them by the throat, dealing damage and placing a mark on them. After that, you gain access to a second activation that lets you instantly teleport to a marketed target's location and follow up with a powerful dive kick. Not only does the full sequence deal pretty respectable damage, but it also doubles as a movement tool. You can basically save that second activation and use it whenever you need to reposition yourself. It's a really fun mechanic and one that ends up being surprisingly useful in actual matches. Finally, we have Hidden Jutsu Vast Dark Heavens, which is in my opinion again the best defensive type ultimate in the game. When activated, massive cubes begin crashing down onto the battlefield, dealing huge damage and also obstructing the enemy's HUD. The main reason I believe this ultimate is so strong is because it creates absolute chaos. Opponents have to worry about avoiding the cubes while also dealing with your team at the same time, and that combination is often just super overwhelming. Whenever this ultimate is activated, getting multiple kills is extremely common, and even when it doesn't directly secure KOs, it completely takes over the battlefield. In objective modes and teamfights especially, it's one of the most oppressive ultimates in the entire game. Overall, I think Ishiki is simply one of the best DLCs available for the defense class right now. Both of his jutsu are excellent, his ultimate is incredibly powerful, and everything in his kit feels useful. If you're looking for a defense class DLC that gives you immediate value and remains relevant across almost every game mode, Ishiki would be my #1 recommendation. Okay, let's now move to the final class, the heal class, and here are the honorable mentions for this one. First up, we have Naruto Last Battle. I still think he probably brings the best healing jutsu in the entire game with 6 Paths Rebirth. Not only does it restore a huge amount of health to both you and your team, but it can also revive recently defeated allies, which is an incredibly powerful bonus. His Truth Seeker Orbs jutsu is also a great defensive tool that protects you while giving you a chance at dealing damage as well. And his ultimate offers really solid team support, alongside a usually reliable one-hit KO attack. Overall, just a really well-rounded and reliable healer DLC. My second honorable mention goes to War Arc Sakura. The main reason she's here is because of one jutsu, Heart Light. Honestly, it's probably still one of my favorite heal type jutsus in the entire game simply because it gives you super armor. And as a healer, you're constantly being targeted, so having a way to ignore interruptions whilst healing, buffing allies, or fighting back is incredibly valuable. Her other jutsu and ultimate are perfectly solid, but Heart Light alone makes this DLC well worth considering. And finally, we have 6 Paths Madara, who brings a much more offensive playstyle to the heal class. A Limbo Border Jail creates invisible clones that are amazing for defending objectives or pressuring enemies, while his second jutsu applies an incredibly long stun and completely resets the target's substitution cooldowns if the jutsu is charged, making it one of the most frustrating abilities to actually get hit by. His ultimate is also one of the strongest teamfight ultimates in the game, stunning everyone before reducing their health to just 1 HP on the second activation, allowing your team to wipe out the entire enemy squad with ease if they follow up properly. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions for the heal class. Now let's move on to my actual number 1 recommendation. And my pick for the best heal class DLC is going to be Kakuzu. Now, this is likely the most controversial pick in this entire video because Kakuzu isn't your typical healer. He's much more offensive than most heal types, but that's also exactly why I think he's the best choice right now. And since he's one of the newer DLC characters, he also comes with his own weapon, Kakuzu Arms. And that alone adds a huge amount of value, similarly to how it was with Kimimaro. The base heal class weapons honestly aren't that great, so getting one of the better weapons in this class alongside with excellent jutsu is a massive advantage. His first jutsu, Fire Style Wind Style Rare Folly, lets you summon up to 2 elemental fissions that automatically attack nearby enemies like little turrets. You can combine them into one stronger summon, but honestly I prefer keeping them separate. The damage isn't really the main point here, the consistent interruptions are. They are fantastic for defending bases, flags or teammates, and they can repeatedly stop enemies in the middle of their attacks. His second jutsu, Earth Grudge Stitch, is where things get really interesting. It heals you and your allies for a small amount and applies a buff that allows you and your allies to recover health by dealing damage. On top of that, if someone with the buff would normally die, they enter a temporary state with a purple health bar that rapidly decreases. If they manage to get a KO before their health runs out, they survive with whatever they had left. In modes like Combat Battle, being able to save both yourself and your teammates from death can genuinely decide games. And this for me makes it one of the best healing jutsus in the game right now. His ultimate, Earth Grudge Final Shot, is also a really solid option as well. The first activation is basically an instant one-hit KO, grabbing an enemy and blasting them with Kakuzu's mask. After that, you transform and gain a new light and heavy attack moveset that deals excellent damage, especially with the light attacks. It might not be the strongest transformation ultimate in the game, but it's still a very reliable one. And finally, we have Kakuzu Arms, the weapon that you get alongside the DLC, which honestly is one of the biggest reasons I'm actually recommending this as my pick. It's one of the better heal class weapons in the game right now, with great tracking, smooth combos, and multiple built-in lighting stunts that make it very easy to keep pressure on your opponent. On top of that, it has an amazing range strong attack that tracks well, breaks guard obviously, and sets up even more damage. It's simply a huge upgrade over basically all of the standard heal class weapons, so I just think it's very worth it to get Kakuzu simply because of this one weapon. Overall, I think Kakuzu is currently the best heal DLC in the game. You get 2 excellent jutsus, a strong ultimate, and one of the better heal class weapons available. Put all that together and I think it's the best DLC that gives you the most value for your money. And those are my picks and honorable mentions for every single class. Let me know in the comments what your favorite DLCs are and which one you personally recommend. Thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you all soon. Bye!